This is Bob Maloney from MyMMAnews.com, and I have the pleasure of talking to Joe Solecki today. Joe is coming off of a beautiful submission victory in the UFC on Saturday night against Austin Hubbard. And Joe, man, first of all, let me say thanks for giving me some time. I know your wife is due to go into labor at any time. I seen you say it in your post-fight interview. Just give me a quick synopsis of, what's happening the last couple of days, waiting for, your lovely new daughter to come into this world.
Yeah, I think this is the baby was due in the middle of September, but I guess they went and checked everything with my wife, and they said really they're not going to let it get past that time. Like, it's time. So I was training today. I trained yesterday. I was training today, like I was telling you, all fair. And I did strength and conditioning. I got the wrestling. I had a private lesson, and I got the wrestling practice, and I'm warming up, and she called and she's like, I'm going to the hospital. I'm having contractions. And they really were. They weren't like fake ones. They were real. And they said early labor. So that could last. The lady's like, I wouldn't be surprised if I see you back here tonight. I also wouldn't be surprised if I see you in a week. So I'm like, well, that just means I'm going to train in Wilmington for the next week, but I'll be training. But now she's my sidekick. She's going to go everywhere I go because I'm not missing this. So she's done working. She's going to be everywhere I go. Well, I'll still be training. But, yeah, amazing. It's the first time I think my wife's listened to me the entire time. I left and was like, please wait till I get back. And she barely listened. It was, Tuesday? But she listened. So, yeah, just amazing. Everything, it couldn't have went any better. I mean, even if I would have lost, God forbid, I'd have dealt with it. But just to have that feeling of coming off a win, coming home, and then knowing what's waiting for me here, which is another big, big, big win in life. So just super pumped, man. Life couldn't get any better right now.
Well, let's talk about that fight, Joe, because I was watching the fight, and I kept saying to myself, Joe's going to shoot. Here comes Joe. Because you know what? People know that, when they're scouting you, they know that you have sick jiu-jitsu. I mean, that's your strength. But what I loved about this fight, I saw your hands. I think tell me if you agree with this statement. I thought your combinations and your stand-up kind of made him forget about you're going to eventually take him down and submit him. I think the improvement in your striking has made your jiu-jitsu even more dangerous. I loved your hands. I seen some great 1-2s and some combinations, and I think it made it even easier for you to get his back. Do you agree with that?
Thank you very much. Yeah, I do. I think the biggest thing, and I think you see it in a lot of the guys that are at the top level of the sport, I'm not there yet, but I want to be, is I think when guys are so specialized in one area, like an Olympic level athlete, like the only person that really was like an Olympic level athlete that was champion is DC, and he's so well-rounded everywhere. But other than that, it's always guys who were really good in whatever their base was, but never at the top 1%. Because I think it just, to get to, like, if you get that good at gi jiu-jitsu, I think to get that good, you don't have the time or the motor skills, because that's a fine motor skill. The details of going to gi jiu-jitsu or something like that, to get good at the other martial arts, because you're so involved in one, if that makes sense. So I always say it, and people think I'm being like fake humble or something, or like knocking myself just to like get a compliment. I don't have good enough jiu-jitsu to just go into a fight with jiu-jitsu. Like, Davi Ramos can do that. I mean, he has good kickboxing, but I just mean somebody like that, an Abu Dhabi medalist, they can do that. I don't have that. So I knew that from the bat, right off the bat, getting into MMA is I've got to be like the guy that comes to mind, even though he got caught cheating and stuff, like TJ Dillashaw. Like, he was a great collegiate wrestler, but not a national champion, not a 1%er. He was just really good. Frankie Edgar, same thing. He was really good, but he wasn't Cael Sanderson, So I think that's kind of that level of jiu-jitsu that I have, where like if there was college level jiu-jitsu, I might have been like a national qualifier or something, but not an All-American, not the top 1%. So I think for me, I knew early on, I got to get better wrestling. I got to get better striking, because there's going to be a guy like Hubbard who isn't easy to submit. And if I just had jiu-jitsu, and we kind of saw it in his Roshkov fight, is he's not going to care about that. I think the striking, it made him shoot in. So maybe I wouldn't have got him down if I had to shoot in. Maybe he has too good a footwork or whatever it was. So I was able to get the striking going just a little bit early, and he shot in. So it's funny, my boxing coach called that. I kind of laughed when he said, I'm like, you're just overconfident in my grappling. He's like, no, you're going to hit him. He's going to shoot in. And he said that back in June, and it rang true. So I got to give him credit, because he's wise beyond my expectations of myself. So it was pretty awesome.
Well, listen, you have a great school and coaching that we were talking earlier about, John Salter, Salty Dog Jiu-Jitsu. He won on Friday night at Bellator. You win at Saturday night, UFC. It's got to be a great feeling going on around right there. Listen, nothing makes more smiles than having healthy babies and getting victories, especially by submission, So you guys have it really going on really good right there. Let me ask you this, Joe, because when you were like on his back, standing up, and you had the body lock on. I looked at you, and it was almost like you were so expressionless. It was almost like you were sitting on a park bench. So just letting him hold your weight. Is there a much better feeling than that, being in that position when you had those legs locked and you knew that, you knew what was coming?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I definitely felt in control there because it's something I spent a lot of time doing. Um, and that's the funny thing is I think it's just my face. Like people used to say that when I walk around like school and stuff. You look unapproachable. That's just my face. Like I think people thought I was like maybe making a face, being like I'm not bothered here. Like I was thinking a million things. One of the funny things I was thinking about John because we had conversations going into this fight where I was like, man, standing back takes can't be a thing for me anymore because guys are too good at riding it out, and then your legs are dead afterward. And I was literally having a debate in my head of do I let go, try and get behind him, and circle out to a double leg? I think I can choke him from here. Like there was so much going on in my head. Do I keep the body lock? Do I go back to hooks? Like I was thinking a lot, but it's funny because you just think the funniest things in fights when you have downtime like that, where you're like in these stale positions. And I was thinking about it. I'm like, God, I just contradicted myself. John said not to take the back standing. I hope this works out. Like I was laughing to myself about that. But yeah, it was just we had a great weekend. First of all, John, man, being around him gives me confidence because even though I can't ride his coattails like that, I'm not trying to like he's a national champion collegiate wrestler, so it's like I know I'm not that, but just seeing him do that, what he did Friday night, which is pitch a complete shutout, it gave me confidence. It just let me know. And then we talked afterward, and he was saying how good he felt from the camp that we did. We do all our conditioning together, so when he said, "Oh," he's like, after the first round, I just knew that wasn't a fight that I was going to be tired, and I felt so conditioned. That gave me confidence, even though I was still nervous. It's a really good thing we have going. I wish he could have been there to be in the corner due to COVID. There's no way you get on a Saturday flight and come out, but we did so much preparation together. It was fantastic. And I had our head coach there, Jeff Jimmo, and the man's just a genius. I mean, people are starting to hear that name a lot more, Jeff Jimmo, and the gym, Jim O, because we have Scott Holtzman, Brian Barberena, Impic Saganai, who fights this weekend, among so many other people. And it's just been fantastic to have these guys that when they tell you you're ready, they're not liars. They don't want you to, they're not in it for themselves. John has his own career, so he's not doing it so that, to make me bring him to be in the corner or something. It's a burden for him to do that. When he's telling me he believes in me, it's just because he wants to be there for me. It's because he wants to be there for me. It's not because I've had coaches in the past, and I've talked about it in some interviews, maybe here and there, where they're rushing you to the next level of things or want you to take fights in cool places so they can go because they don't really have a career of their own and they just want to get in the picture for the camera and all that. And these aren't those guys, Jeff Jimmo never comes in the cage for a picture afterward. I got to beg him backstage, please take a picture of me. Like, he's not in it for that. John Salter, same thing, has his own career. My boxing coach, I was messing with him. He's a 2-time leukemia survivor. And I go, dude, you were out of the game. I brought you back into the stressful fight game. Like, you got to leave your wife at home for 6 days. Like, I'm sorry. And we laughed about it. But these are guys that are strictly here for me. And it's incredible having them. And what a weekend we had. Just super, super lucky to have them in my life.
And listen, I know where I'm at over here in Jersey and PA area, where your family tree of jujitsu started. There's a lot of guys that are proud of you and that love you and root for you. I know the Hassett family, John Hassett, where you started. I went to high school with John, and he's a legend to me. He's been a legend since high school. And then, of course, the Migler-Reese family. I mean, you have been really blessed. And with not just your hard work ethic, but to be around amazing athletes and people your whole life, and it's continuing, man. You have a great future ahead of you. I just want to say, man, how excited I am for your next fight. What do you think, Joe? You're getting ready to have your daughter. Say you have your daughter in a few weeks. Do you think it's going to be month, 2 months, 3 months? You're going to take some time off. When do you foresee yourself getting back in camp and possibly getting back in the cage?
Yeah, definitely no time off, 100%. I don't do that. I don't want to do that. I have no desire to do that. I want to get better. And especially now, a win like that it's almost I'm gonna be a victim of success in that fight because Hubbard is a highly touted dude. I mean, I think he's 2-3 in the UFC, but his losses, he was turning it on late and looked phenomenal. So I might get thrown to the wolves here. So I've got to be ready for that. I'm not gonna take any time off for sure. Um, the only thing I want to change is I want to be able to have a couple weeks to get back into a strength cycle with my strength and conditioning coach because I think to endure the type of camps that we put in, it's a really physically demanding anytime in MMA, but especially where I'm at because I've got so many animals I'm training with, but especially like I got John Salter beating me up every day. It's a 200-pound collegiate national champion, black belt in jiu-jitsu. Like my body takes a pounding. So I've got to have that 4 weeks of strength and conditioning where we're not just conditioning, but we're getting into our lifting and my weight can get up a little bit so that I can take the pounding that is fight camp. Other than that, I'm back sparring this week. I got a buddy out of Myrtle Beach that's going to be getting ready to make his pro debut, so he needs a 55er to spar with. That's me. I'm the only one. So I'll be back doing that. I was back training today and yesterday, so no time off for sure. It was just good to get that fight in without having to worry about, am I going to have to leave to go to Fight Island or something right after my baby comes or miss the birth. But I asked for December. Can't always get what we want, but I think that's a good timeline. That gives me time to get a little better and get right back into camp. But then also to what you're speaking about with John Hassett is, I made a post about it the other day, but I think I was born kind of, and just the trajectory I was on in life, just as a little kid, was just to be average. Come from a long line of very average athletes. No offense to the Soleckis that are watching. We come from a long line of wiffle ball players. We're not like collegiate high level athletes. We're not these super driven athletes. We kind of, we did well in school, and we go and we get a job, and life is life, and that was great. And that was amazing. But we were always taught balance at home, which is amazing. But when I met John Hassett, I was taught the opposite. I was taught obsession. I was taught stories of how he was trained. He was at Steve Maxwell's and having to run up the stairs with the sandbag and stuff. But he also introduced me to other people besides. He didn't just try and glorify himself. He told me about Dan Gable and all these other people that he looked up to. And it's almost like a form of brainwashing, I guess. And I made a joke earlier that halfway through fight week, when I was terrified, nervous, and stressed, I was just hating John Hassett because I'm like, man, you got me hooked on this ridiculous life. I could have had today's Saturday. I could have been off from work, hanging out somewhere playing golf or something. And instead, I'm getting ready to fight in a cage to prove my self-worth. Like, what did you do to me? And then I won. And he messaged me. And I was like, I was so mad at you this week because why do I do this for a living? And now I owe my whole life to you because I was destined to be average, and you changed that for me as an athlete, at least. And as a man, because he set such a high example, such a high standard. And man, everybody that meets him just loves him. It's amazing that I can, I train with some really high level guys like John Salter and stuff. And it's amazing when we go back home and he's been with me when I was fighting CFFC and stuff, and come in and meets Hassett and is so impressed by him. Everybody that meets him is impressed by him. And I think anybody that meets him knows exactly why. It's not only the man, but then you watch him. I think he's 56 years old this year, and just smashes people on the mat. Just an absolute terror. It's amazing. I went back and did a private lesson with him a couple days in a row in August last year after I got signed. And he was wrenching and we weren't rolling. He was just showing me stuff. And he's got this squeeze that's just insane, and just a monster. So meeting the Hassett family absolutely changed my life. I couldn't thank him enough. We've been talking a bunch recently, and that's been huge too. So that's two-parter there, with the question, but just had to shout him out because I don't know where I'd be, man. I definitely wouldn't be happy in life. I was meant to do this. I think I really, really do. And I think the trajectory I would have been on in life if I didn't meet him would have led me to not pursue this because no one would have been in my ear about dreams and greatness and trying to get what you're worth and all that stuff. And one funny story about him is when I was a kid, I showed up he had kids karate class and adult jiu-jitsu. I did both. And kids class, no one showed up one day. He may not even remember this. And he put me through a couple things with technique for karate, and then he switched it. It was like, you want to be a competitor and this and that? I was like 10. And he put me through this circuit, which probably wasn't much, but for a 10-year-old was, just terrifying. And I remember hanging from the pull-up bar, and he's reading a quote by Saul Ribeiro to me from jiu-jitsu. And everybody wants to be a champion, but not everybody wants to do what it takes to become one, and then so on and so forth. I can recite the whole thing. I'm not going to do that. But that kind of stuff that changes your life, And he did that all the time. Hey, go downstairs on my bookshelf in my office, grab a DVD, grab a book, go ahead and study that. Hey, here's this book from Korea on karate that I got signed by Grandmaster Hwang Ki before he passed away. You're 11, but I trust you to take this home and read it. Bring it back to me when you're done. Like stuff like that. That goes so long. And he had no indication that I was going to be good at anything. He just wanted to help a kid out who was a complete martial arts nerd and who was interested in the same thing. And the best part is he has 4 kids of his own. Is a great husband, great father, and still took the time to take me under his wing. So I just had to shout him out, and I can't do it enough. Just a great guy.
Just real quick on John. Listen, Joe, when I went to school with him, and you know how you're in school, who's the baddest guy in school? It was John Hassett, but like John didn't tell people that. I just knew it because he was training jiu-jitsu when jiu-jitsu really wasn't that popular back then, and he was humble. People knew, I knew. Yep. Even though he wasn't braggadocious about it, he was just so humble. And that's where I started learning about jiu-jitsu. Not that I trained, but watching mixed martial arts. Because John one of the early guys into it. And like you said, man, he's just such a great family guy and a great guy. And it's awesome. Thanks for that story, how he really put you on this great path to greatness, man. That was an awesome story. I appreciate it. Once again, I want to say thanks again for giving us some time. Your wife is due very soon. You have any shout outs or love you want to give before we go?
Yeah, just all that, man. Like I said, John Hassett, but everybody at Hassett's. Just great guys, and that's the best part. Me and my mom were talking about this the other day, actually, before the fight. We were just talking about stories and stuff, and how everything connects. Everything always, it's the 6 degrees of separation. Mr. Hassett never let anybody around that was going to be detrimental to the growth of the school, but also the students. I was a very impressionable 10-year-old kid in adult class, and I grew up there. And if there was any bad guys there, he never let them near me, and which they wouldn't last there long anyway, knowing Mr. Hassett. But one of the funniest things is, 2 of the guys, Emery and Pat Miller, they were students there, and I was 16, going to be 17. It was my birthday. The Fan Expo came, and the UFC Boston, and my mom asked him, is it okay if he goes to these guys? Like, do you trust these guys? He's like, Mrs. Solecki, like, I trust these guys with my family, with my life. Like, they're great guys. And I went there, and this is just so funny how it plays out. Like, what normal 16-year-old for their 17th birthday is going away with 2 40-year-old jiu-jitsu competitors? We're all rooming together, coaching each other. And that night, UFC 118 in Boston, we had tickets. John Salter's fighting Dan Miller. And I'm in the crowd, 16, 17 years old from New Jersey, screaming my head off against this, this redneck from Alabama, wrestlers who beat me in tournaments. I don't like those stinking wrestlers. Like, scream. And I love the Miller brothers. So I'm just cheering against John as hard as I can go. And now here we go, 10 years later, 8 years later, one of my best friends is John Salter. So it's just funny how it all connects. I just appreciate everybody that took time to be there for me. All the guys at Hassett's, like Emery, like Pat, all those guys. So just fantastic. Love them, man. I always will. I always go back there every chance I get, because that's still my jiu-jitsu instructor. That's still my jiu-jitsu school, even though I'm not there on the day in, day out. That's just how it is. And then Salty Dog Jiu-Jitsu, of course, like we talked about, John Salter just couldn't get any better. Everybody at Jim O, Jeff Jim O, everybody that I mentioned earlier who trains there, we're just growing such a special thing. It's so funny. We were sitting on the steps outside the gym one day, and coach is out there, and he looks at us sitting on the steps, and he's like, dude, we have 5 of the baddest dudes around in this small town, in this little rinky-dink gym in North Carolina, and no one would even know it driving by. And we were just laughing. We're like, it's true. We have 5 guys that are in the UFC, Bellator, and other places. There's 6, 7 guys now. So it's been amazing being there, and the growth that has come from that. And just everybody that supports me, man. My wife's been fantastic. I can't talk about it enough. And it really showed this week not having her there, because, I have my team, but when you go off in your own room at the end of the day, like I said, some terrifying things happen in there. When you start to find out about yourself, when the door's shut and the blinds are closed and you're trying to go back to sleep and you can't because you're scared to death about the fight, you find out how much your loved ones who being around means to you. So I missed her this fight week, but it's been fantastic. I just want to thank everybody that reached out. I got a lot of positive feedback, and I just can't thank everybody enough, man. It feels like a dream. So I just really, really appreciate all the support.
Listen, talking about a dream, the dream is coming soon with the birth of your daughter, Joe. Once again, best of luck to you. I can't wait to talk to you again. I can't wait to see you fight again. Like I said, enjoy. This is the best time of your life you're ever going to have. It's even better than winning in the cage. It's a pleasure to watch. I can't wait to see your career progress, man. It's a pleasure talking to you, Joe. Thanks again.
Bob, thanks so much, man. Take care. Great talking to you.
You too, brother.